Chavirim, welcome. Please don't let the flames. Oh, recording stop. That's okay. Please don't let the flames on this unconsumed. Yes, I hear you every time. Please don't let the flames on this unconsumed bush intimidate you. For it is I. Actually, it's Brad. It's Brad talking behind the burning bush. We just thought it would get your attention, as we start a toast, a roast, a tribute to Rabbi Josh. Tonight will be an evening of laughter, of tears, appreciation, maybe a kvetch or two in honor of our very own and homegrown Rabbi Joshua Lesser. There is a lot to come tonight, but first, I'd like to introduce Amy Lighthill, aka Amy Tell Orr. Amy?
Good evening, Havarim. Welcome to this night that is different from all other nights. But it's not what you think. You don't have to eat any maror tonight, though we do recommend you have plenty of beverages available that pair well with roasted and toasted rabbi. We do have something to celebrate tonight. I mean, besides hearing all the down low about Rabbi Josh, before he goes on Oprah to tell his side of the story. An amazing discovery found by chance just this morning in an old storage closet after Royal Bagel's remodel. The heretofore lost book of the Tanakh has just been put into my hand, and I have been given permission by Teresa to share the start of this profoundly meaningful work with you, although she is going to ask you to sign liability waivers when we're done. So, put on your kippah and pay close attention, Havarim, to the first chapter of the lost book of Joshua, the life, teachings, and kvetching of the lost prophet. And it came to pass that the descendants of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob went into Canaan, for they sought water and pasture for their flocks. And it was a place of peaceable hills and valleys, with rains that came in due season, low crime, low taxes, and a goodly public school system. Verily, it was a land flowing with milk and honey. And they were called the tribe of Levi, relaxed fit. And these were their generations. Jedediah bet Zedediah, and Zedediah beget Zebediah, and Zebediah beget Obadiah, and Obadiah beget Lanny. And Lanny took unto him a wife, Elaine, and they were called the Lessers. But they were without child and begat no one. And the Lessers prayed and beseeched the Lord to open Elaine's womb, yet her womb remained closed. And they made burnt offerings of rams and heifers and loaves of barley to the Lord, but it availed them not. And they offered coffee rings and bagels and whitefish salad to the Lord, yet she did not conceive. And they tried everything, even sex, but still she was barren of child, and they wept. Then Elaine went up to Mount Sinai to seek counsel from the Lord. And she went also up to a specialist at Cedar Sinai for a second opinion. And she promised the Lord that if he would give her a child, she would give the child up in service unto the temple for all the days of his life, though not all of the evenings. And the Lord heard her prayers and answered them. So it came to pass that she bore a son, and they called him Joshua, meaning he whose parents have planned his life without consulting him. And they were sad no more. Okay, who is surprised, right? It's what we all suspected all along. Hold on one second. Now Teresa Presswood gets to tell us what exactly has been going on behind those boardroom doors when the rabbi arrives as Cher. Teresa?
Welcome. Some things are better left not spoken about. But I will say that tonight is a night to celebrate Josh. It's 22 years in the making. I, Teresa, as president of Bet Havarim this year, have had the unique opportunity of working with Josh these past 17 months while in quarantine for most of them. I watched the Rabbi, Josh, quickly pivot to a virtual reality. Utilizing his creativity, knowledge, and wisdom, he visualized a connected world through the quarantine. He quickly looked for ways for CBH to be a community, whether it was chatting on Zoom, reaching out via phone, checking in on congregants that lived alone. We witnessed more people at our Shabbat services each night, each Friday. We admired his ever-changing Zoom background. And when George Floyd was murdered almost a year ago, Rabbi Josh took to the streets to protest. He created services to soothe us. With the help of the incredible CBH staff and many volunteers, he visioned an unforgettable High Holy Day services that we could not have imagined. When we heard Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died in the middle of our Rosh Hashanah services, he encouraged us to grieve. He helped create safe spaces for us to talk, pray, and gather during a tumultuous election. He shared our outrage during the January insurrection and encouraged us to keep using our voice for justice. In the midst of this, so many of us grieve the deaths, the changing world, and now we grieve his departure as our senior rabbi. But tonight is about celebrating Josh. It's about laughing, maybe crying, and realizing that this night is a night not to be forgotten. I want to thank a few people before we get going. First of all, thank you, Andy Siegel, Aaron Berger, Haley, and Shoshana for doing the production, helping us meet weekly to make sure we could pull this together via Zoom. I want to thank Brad for offering his great voice and coming in and with his burning bush and deep voice, saying what we all want to hear and helping us get through this evening. I want to thank all of you who have been part of this. You've donated, you've signed up to do vid hugs for Josh, Rabbi Josh, and it is an extraordinary thing. Later, I'll show everybody's name that's contributed so far. But tonight, we want to celebrate Josh. We want to show our love for him. And we can do it in the chat. We can private message him if you'd like. But we want to celebrate Josh because he is someone that should be celebrated regularly. I'm sorry that we could only do 2 celebrations this time of his wonderful rabbinate with us. Now, to get us going, well, let me just let Mark take it from here. Thanks so much.
Shalom, everyone. 5 years ago at Rosh Hashanah service, I splashed on the scene when I blurted out this. You probably never heard nor probably ever seen a rapping white guy at Bet Havarim. Now, I'm no Eminem and certainly not Snoop. The name's Silver Dog, and here is my scoop. 8 years ago, my wife and I went looking for a synagogue that would do our Jewish cooking. Dunwoody, Buckhead, and Sandy Springs, lots of holy places, but they ain't our thing. Back through the desert, looked for an oasis, came upon Decatur for a place that embraced us. No matter that we're rich or dreadfully poor, didn't check our Jewish credentials at the door. No fancy buildings, none of that panache. The music, the passion led by Rabbi Josh. Yes, Bet Havarim truly became our call, a real house of friends that is open to all. For real, Josh, I am so happy that my wife and I found Bet Havarim. For you have given us in this synagogue a real sense of esteem within our community and beyond as a team, fighting for justice and using our collective voices to scream. The indelible leadership that you have displayed and the strides in togetherness that you have made have so made their mark upon all whom have prayed and gotten this straight dude to march proudly in the Pride Parade. Whether we be them, they, him, he, her, she, chocolate, vanilla, or rainbow jubilee, you've showed us all how to think free while teaching us all a lesson in empathy. The pulse attack made all our hearts stop, but yours kept beating, would not let us drop. Brought communities together to the very top of a civil rights movement that would not flop. You assembled our beloved choir to shout, tell the masses what it's all about, that we will not hate, but we will not let hate continue to spout in what had become a love drought. The Tree of Life massacre in Pittsburgh, PA. You again would gather our community one Saturday. Young Israel, Bet Havarim, a spiritual bouquet, together as one in a solidarity display. And when we'd gather on MLK Day, we had our own civil rights leader leading the way. Wade in the water, we'd get everyone to say, for no one cared that we were white, black, or gay. One man come in the name of love. One man come and go. One man come, he to justify. One man to overflow. In the name of love, one man in the name of love. In all the years I have known you, your love, your passion overflows. For our kids and their bar and bat mitzvahs, your feeling, your caring overflows. And now, as you prepare to leave Bet Havarim, we will still bask in your afterglow. For we know that you will make a difference, no matter what you choose to do. But know this, Rabbi Josh, that this congregation will always, always be with you. Shalom. Peace out.
Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, please welcome Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms.
Hello, I'm Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Thank you to Rabbi Joshua Lesser and everyone who has come together for this well-deserved tribute. As the mayor, I've tried to use every available resource that I have at my disposal to pursue our vision for One Atlanta. And Rabbi Josh, you are a precious resource. As one of the founding members of our LGBTQ Advisory Board, you have championed policies that improve the lives of all Atlantans. Your pursuit of social justice extends well beyond City Hall and even the state capitol, where we know that you have fought against discrimination. 20 years ago, you founded the Rainbow Center, an advocacy and service organization for LGBTQ Jewish people and people of all faiths throughout Metro Atlanta. As I prepared for these remarks, I reflected on the inspiring blessing that you shared in my 2019 State of the City address. You challenged each of us to act with courage. Let us walk together, you said, in step with the heartbeat of each other's struggles. Thank you, Rabbi Josh, for your incredible service to Atlanta. I join you in this season of transition, and I know that you, like me, trust that God will fulfill your next season with purpose and passion.
Thank you, Mayor. So Josh spent 6 years in rabbinical school. It's more time than it takes to become a doctor. With his freshly minted diploma, he was steeped in Torah. So all he had to do was learn how to become a rabbi. And that's where CBH came in, with the on-the-job training that made him the exceptional rabbi he is today. In other words, CBH deserves all the credit. Here are longtime members Ellen Mazer and Bob Schwartz with the untold story.
We always knew Josh had great potential, but to bring out the best in this raw recruit, we had to ship him off to CBH boot camp for basic training.
It was the opportunity of a lifetime. Where else could a young rabbi get this kind of experience? At the temple, founded 161 years ago, with its cushy endowment fund? Fair.
Or at Young Israel, now Congregation or HaTorah, with their 13,000 square foot building? Please.
Those shuls don't even have drag names. But at CBH, Josh is also known as Vashti Dishes.
Having a drag name like Vashti Dishes is a valuable fringe benefit.
But the biggest benefit was giving Josh an appropriate work environment, like the office we rented at Virginia Highland Baptist Church.
The rainwater from that leaky roof kept Josh close to nature.
And in the cramped offices, he learned to play well with others.
And like that verse from Ecclesiastes, to everything there is a season, you had to bring fans in the summer and wear 2 pairs of socks in the winter.
Now that builds character.
Back then, we held services at the Friend's house in Decatur, and we went to great length there to help Josh with his public speaking.
We arranged for freight trains to rumble down the adjacent railroad tracks during his devar and to blow their whistles right at his crescendo.
Like clockwork.
At that point, Josh had earned a promotion. So we moved to a quieter worship space at CCUCC.
That property also had a standalone building, which became the CBH office.
That's where we trained Josh in the basics of interfaith work by hiring a devout Southern Baptist, Jeannie Mangum, as our administrator.
The two of them, the rabbi and the Southern Baptist, forged a strong bond on April Fool's Day. Josh arranged a prank call to Jeannie where a man called in and said he was converting to Judaism and wanted Josh to circumcise him.
Poor Jeannie tried to explain that Josh didn't perform circumcisions, but the caller was insistent. He wanted Josh and only Josh.
The gag fell apart when Josh, who could hear Jeannie's end of the conversation, couldn't suppress his laughter.
See, that's cutting-edge interfaith work.
Josh was making steady progress, and it was time for a full-fledged diversity immersion experience.
There's a nugget from Maimonides that they don't teach in rabbinical school, that a synagogue like ours has 613, count them, 613 ways to kvetch.
And each one is beautiful.
We made sure that every congregant, and I mean every congregant, felt their voice could be heard, commenting on Josh's glasses and hairstyle.
And hair color.
Having now mastered hand-to-hand combat, Josh was coming into his own. The last step was for CBH to polish up his rabbinical etiquette.
You notice the way he invites us to stand for certain prayers and invites us to feel our feet on the floor.
Those invitations are so heartfelt. I want to RSVP.
Josh, you have finally arrived at your Shehecheyanu moment. After 20 plus years, we hereby confer upon you this diploma for completing Congregation Bet Chaverim Boot Camp.
And Josh, like your biblical namesake, we know that you will always be strong and courageous, that you will not be afraid or discouraged in the face of new challenges, and that God is with you wherever you go.
Yasher Koach, Rabbi.
And Mazel Tov, Vashti.
The next piece is a collaborative effort between the CBH Chorus and Rabbi Josh's better half, Alessandro Romualdez. This embodies the creative and complex spirit that Josh has sparked in our congregation. Alessandro's visual adaptation tells the story of all too many and reminds me of our prayer for the end of hiding. Sigh no more.
Serve God, love me, and mend. This is not the end. Live unbruised, we are friends. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sigh no more, no more. One foot in sea, one on shore. My heart was never pure. You love me. You love me. And man is a funny thing. Oh, man is a funny thing. Oh, man is a funny thing. Oh, man is a funny thing. Love, it will not betray you, dismay, or enslave you. It will set you free. Be more like the one you were made to be. There is a design and alignment, a cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be. Love, it will not betray you, dismay, or enslave you. It will set you free. Be more like the one you were made to be. There is a design and alignment, a cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be. Love, it will not betray you, dismay, or enslave you. It will set you free. Be more like the one you were made to be. There is a design and alignment, a cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be.
Hello, that was so beautiful. My name is Alan Sugar, and I'm proud and happy to share a poem that I wrote in honor of Rabbi Josh, and it is called My Rabbi. A rabbi is a teacher and a guide. A rabbi leads us like a pioneer, and building bridges that cross oceans wide. A rabbi is a spiritual engineer. My Rabbi Joshua Lesser is the one who listens to me and who understands. And when I pray beneath a setting sun, he lights my way to many promised lands. No, Rabbi Josh does not command with force, nor overwhelm with wisdom from the shelf. He simply helps me find the very source of everything that's good inside myself. I never want to hear his stories end. My rabbi is my teacher and my friend. Love you, Rabbi Josh, and blessings to all.
Alan, thank you. Thank you for those words. Our next speaker considers Josh not just a friend, but something more.
Thank you for welcoming me to this celebration. I think of the scripture that says how good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to dwell together in unity. It is as the precious ointment upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garment. It is as the dew of Hermon, their God commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. We gather this day to celebrate our dear friend, my brother, Rabbi Joshua Lesser. And I'm so thankful that we can gather, even if it has to be virtually, to honor him. When I think of Rabbi Josh, there's no doubt in my mind that he is committed to the work of justice and peace in the world. He takes seriously the words of the prophet. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require but that you do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. That was evident from the very first time I met Rabbi Josh. And so thank you so very much, dear friend, for your work. Blessings on the journey. And thanks to everyone for allowing me to celebrate with you.
And now, share.
Hello, Rabbi Josh. This is Chad Michaels from RuPaul's Drag Race, and I am so thrilled to be stopping by today to pass on, but not pass over, a message to you from Aaron Berger and your entire congregation. Rabbi Josh, your entire career as a leader, a doer, and a friend can all be summed up in a medley of 3 share songs. Believe, of course, Strong Enough, and most of all, from your congregation, I've Got You, Babe. That's right. Rabbi Josh, your entire congregation has got you, babe. And they want to thank you for all you've done and will continue to do in the future. Rabbi Josh, you sound absolutely amazing. And I guess since she's here, Cher would just like to say, I believe in you too. And I too know that you're strong enough. And babe, you better believe it. I've got you, babe. So keep up the good work, Rabbi Josh, and we could all only be so lucky to have someone like you in our lives to create inspiration, leadership, and faith. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, Rabbi Josh. This is Chad Michaels from RuPaul's Drag Race, sending love from my heart to yours, and from Aaron and your entire congregation. Celebrate.
And next, a message from one of Josh's oldest friends.
Rabbi, or should I say Rabbi Josh, I'm Boy George, I'm here in the studio. Now, you've been an advocate for gay rights, for Black lives.
Yeah, so some happened there where we only got 10 seconds, sort of a tease of Rabbi, of Boy George. But hey, don't worry, George. We don't want to hurt you. We don't want to make you cry. But we do, what we do want to do is we want to introduce our very own song adaptation by one of Josh's favorite artists. You guys know who it is, Dolly Parton, right? So this idea comes from Ellen Mazer, lyrics by Greg Bedole, and presented by Greg and the entire CBH congregation.
This is such a night. Before I get started, I encourage you to set up your Zoom and speaker view You don't want all those Brady Bunch boxes. You want to see me front and center. No real reason. I just like to be front and center. Seriously, if you're going to read the screen for the sing-along, you'll want that to be big. So my brief story about meeting Rabbi Josh. Soon after I moved to Atlanta to marry my Presbyterian wife, we started looking for a Jewish home. Well, maybe more like a summer cottage. We thought we'd use our temple for high holidays and that would be about it. We spoke to rabbis about town. Then we settled on a large Reform synagogue down on Peachtree, not to mention any names. It was fine, but pretty darn expensive, especially if you wanted orchestra center seats for the holidays. So we left, restarted our search, and found free high holiday services at this congregation I had never heard of before. LGBTQ? Fine with me. I was a theater major at Brandeis. But recon what? But free high holy day services. What more could a Reformed Jew want? The music was incredible. And the rabbi. Oh, that rabbi. Eloquent, thoughtful, challenging, and gay. Oh, did I mention gay? I fell in love. Well, with the synagogue, I am straight. Josh and I met for a cup of coffee. I told Josh about my Presbyterian wife and my search. Josh did not laugh in my face. He spoke with me seriously and sincerely, giving value to everything that was a concern to me. Of course, I had no idea that my issues were boring, trite, and bluntly not issues at all in the world of Bet Haverim. But Josh didn't let on for a moment. It was a real conversation. It only took another 5 or so years to join. I'm a slow learner. Yet here I be, in love with this community, my chorus family, and of course, our rabbi. Thank you for everything, Josh. Oh, the sing-along. Well, at the suggestion of Ellen Mazer, we redid the words to a Dolly Parton song. Okay, y'all, make sure you're in speaker view. If you're gonna sing, you gotta read the screen. Remember, watch the screen. Well, way before the COVID days, where we go now for deadlines raised, I ran across a sight I'd never seen. A fully grown man with a cap and a cape, talking up storm while I stood and gaped. Even at a glance, you could tell his path was clean. So he took me out walking to check out the space, head on down to that little old place, find out if them things I saw were true. There was a big brown dog playing out in the yard with some handsome guy, and my heart beat hard, and I heard somebody say, "Shalom, who are you?" Oh, and there he stood, at least I think he was standing. His body was square and his eyes demanding, and he was the fittest man that I'd ever seen. When he spoke, his voice was low and deep, and if I weren't careful, he'd put me to sleep, but something in his gaze set me in place. He said, "Don't know you, but please don't scatter, because I see you, and that's all that matters." So I smiled back and I told him who I was. He said, "Come on in, pull you up a chair, you might as well since you're already here." And he said, "You can call me Rabbi Joshua." Joshua, what you doing praying here all alone? Joshua, but you got no shul all your own. No. Don't get ahead of yourselves, folks. He talked
walked all through the Sabbath night, and he was still talking when it come daylight. And there was just so much he had to say. Hey, I'd spent my life in a Reformed shul, yet when he spoke it was kind of cool, so I said yeah when he asked me if I'd stay. Oh, we grew closer as time went on, and that little old shul was a happy spot. So I just couldn't help but want him around. That rabbi guy in that shul he helped build for 20 years it's been yet still, and now it's time for Joshua to go. Joshua, Joshua, you're still what we were looking for. Joshua, Joshua, you ain't gonna be our rabbi anymore. No, no. Die, 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 Josh. We love you, Josh. Y'all come back real soon now, you hear?
Thank you, Greg, and Dolly, and your hat. Thank you all three. A few years ago, The Forward, the venerable publication founded in 1897 as the Jewish Daily Forward, named Rabbi Josh as one of the country's most inspirational rabbis. It's a well-deserved recognition, but does it capture the full picture? There's so much more to Josh than devars and davening. I'm referring, of course, to the secret of his animal magnetism.
Hi, I'm Anna Levy-Sprick, and this is my mom, Jan Levy.
Anna and I admire many things about Rabbi Josh, but mainly his legs.
I heard he works out with Anderson Cooper.
I heard he's written a book called Legs and Loving Kindness.
Which brings us to the top 10 reasons why Josh's legs are holy moly. Number 10. Josh's legs are so gorgeous, he's often mistaken for Queen Esther.
Number 9. Josh's legs are so intimidating, they scare the shit out of anti-Semites.
Number 8. Josh's legs are so Jewish, he has matzah balls.
Number 7. Atlanta shuls all recite the prayer for the end of hiding of Josh's legs.
Number 6. Josh's legs are so sexy, they can walk you to the promised land.
Number 5. After seeing the power in Josh's legs, Mitch McConnell agreed to drop the filibuster.
Number 4. Josh's bulging thighs attract so much attention, no one notices his belly button lint.
Number 3. Josh's legs are in such demand, CBH has a sign-up sheet.
Number 2. Josh's legs inspired one of Lady Gaga's hit songs.
And the number 1 reason why Josh's legs are holy moly. They will carry him to his next great adventure with stamina and a steady gait.
Josh, thank you for everything. We love you.
Now, we can't talk about Rabbi Josh without talking about at least one of his many programmatic love children. Here's Rebecca Staple-Wax, Executive Director of Sojourn. And Rebecca, you are going to unmute and we're all going to hear you so well.
I never thought I would be one of your baby mamas, but I love that so much that I'd like to add that to my resume if you're okay with it. It's not lost on anyone who knows you that your vision and thoughtful approach has always been like that of a parent. 20 years ago, when you started the Rainbow Center, now Sojourn, you poured your heart and soul into it, projecting warmth and comfort and nurturing all that would reach everyone and the organization that it touched. And in 2013, when Sojourn officially incorporated as the Southern Jewish Resource Network for Gender and Sexual Diversity, you added the tagline, "Like a parental veteran, that Sojourn is your home on the journey to full inclusion." You made Sojourn a refuge for tens of thousands of young and now not so young people over the years. When you were growing up, there were only 4 synagogues in Atlanta. Now there are 10 times that many. And you have a presence in each and every one of them. One of my favorite stories is of a 7th grader from North Fulton Temple. She was nervous about someone from the Rainbow Center coming in to talk to her class about gender and sexual diversity because it challenged her to confront her own identity while also getting external support from her faith community. Confusing, right? Fast forward 10 years, and this student was now a teacher of her very own 7th grade class at CBH. Between times, she had figured out what Judaism and being queer meant to her. She came full circle. She expressed such gratitude for the community and the city and for all that worked hard to make both of those places a welcoming place. In addition, you have spoken with Orthodox rabbis about how conversion, torture, or therapy is antithetical to Jewish teachings. You've worked with conservadox day schools to consult on how to support their students and who have now have gender and sexually diverse alliances, or GSAs. There are shuls that have LGBTQ affinity groups, teen social clubs, and those who are exploring their inclusion practices. Your Sojourn legacy is long and deep across Atlanta, Birmingham, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, and many other places where LGBTQ plus youth have crossed your path. And yet the ones that you have the closest connection to are right here. You have officiated their baby namings and have been present for adoption ceremonies. You've witnessed them as they have become Brit Mitzvah and have launched them, like their parents, into college and adulthood. This next video is a glimpse of the lives you have helped mold. May you feel pride and fell as the parental figure that you are.
Rabbi Josh is not a guarded person, I would say, as it comes to getting to know people. My name is William Watley, and I am 20 years old. Josh's impact on my Jewish identity. Rabbi Josh is a gay rabbi. And for a young kid to see that, it's like being Barack Obama. You know what I mean? The first Black president. It's an apple in a basket of oranges. But the way Rabbi Josh navigates everything that he does and the way that he's been around CBH and does his devars and does everything that he does, he fits so well. That seeing him just be a rabbi like that has made me feel like I can be Jewish no matter where I am. And regardless of whatever trouble anybody gives me, Jewish or not, about being Jewish, I'm Jewish because I am.
Social cues. Rabbi Josh knows a lot about social cues.
He's a more modern adult. That he feels like a millennial. I am 14 years old, and my name is Levi Robertson.
My name is Noah Robertson, and I am 12 years old.
We all went to Philadelphia for this conference. My family and a bunch of people. I think the choir from CBH. My parents, I don't remember what they were doing, but they were doing something.
So my parents decided that me and my brother and Rabbi Josh would go out to get breakfast. So I forgot what the place was called, but they had milkshakes on their menu.
We were like, can we get shakes? And he was like, sure.
We also got chocolate chip pancakes because, it has chocolate in it and it's pancakes.
I mean, we were kids, so he probably was like, kids like sugar, so I'll get these kids sugar.
So my bar mitzvah experience was a rather complicated process because I originally wasn't sure I wanted to have one at all. Dov Wallach, 21 years old. When I was 9 years old, I started having partial seizures, and it was found to be caused by a right temporal lobe ganglioma, so a slow-growing brain tumor. And so it really made me struggle with the idea of an all-knowing, omniscient God. It was kind of a like, well, how can you literally tell me there is this being that knows this, has the power to change it, and doesn't, and how can you say that they're kind? And I ended up in my conversation with Rabbi Josh, here's my cards, and his response is, oh, that's awesome. We can work with this. And so there were prayers that I didn't lead because the literal translation was something that I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to say this. I can't say this and mean it right now. And it was just kind of I didn't expect this to happen. I didn't expect to feel understood. And it ended up being a very meaningful part of my life.
He's probably one of the people I respect the most in my life. My name is Eliana Norton, and I'm 18 years old. After I came out to my parents in 8th grade, shortly after my bat mitzvah, the first thing my mother said was, we have to tell Rabbi Josh because she knows, and I know that he is someone in my life that I've trusted so much. I emailed him to set up the meeting, and the meeting happened in his office. And he was like, yeah, so what did you want to talk about? And I was just like, yeah, so I came out to my family. He's like, and how did that feel? I was like, I mean, good. I've known. I feel like we've all known. He's like, maybe. And yeah, it was just, he's so open and so easy to talk to in that sense. And I think that's what makes him so trustworthy.
I would say first and foremost, Josh is a mentor.
It feels like love. It feels like there's someone there who loves you just as you are.
Normally talking with adults is like kind of weird because you have to like use like quote unquote big boy words.
I think he will travel the world with his husband, his dog, and himself. Which sounds amazing, but of course he doesn't have to do that because I understand the struggles of motion sickness. So.
I know I'm going to miss him a ton, but I cannot wait to see what he's going to do in the future.
So in just a moment, we'll invite Josh to speak, but first I want to share just a little bit of my history with Joshua Lesser. I joined CBH shortly before Josh's return to Atlanta some 21, 22 years ago, and I immediately had a connection with Josh. 15 years earlier, I had been on a canoe trip with Josh's dad, Lanny, who just happened to be adventure buddies with my dad's med school buddy, Lou Martin, and we took a week-long trip to North Georgia the summer before my freshman year at Emory. We both attended Orthodox day schools, Josh here in Atlanta, I in Columbus, Ohio. I had not been an active participant in CBH or any shul at all prior to Josh's arrival, but he saw something in me that he thought might contribute to the life of the congregation. So he set about to systematically enroll me into lay leadership. His first ask came before I even had children. He said, "Hey, Brad, you think you might help me lead a Tat Shabbat sometime?" And I said, well, I'm not really sure I know or remember all the tefillot, all the prayers, but sure. He said, "Great, how about next week?" And I said, "Yes." And it was fun. And then he said, "Hey, Brad, I'm going to be out of town in 2 weeks. What do you think about leading a Tat Shabbat by yourself?" And I said, "Well, okay." And I did, and it was fun. And then he said, hey, Brad, what do you think about helping me lead a Kabbalat Shabbat service? And then stepped it up to leading one on my own. And then he said, what do you think about leading one pass of Kol Nidre this Yom Kippur? Which then culminated in him asking me to be one of the lay cantors when Lee Sloan left for med school. He got me. Hook, line, and sinker reeled me in. Lay leadership has been an incredible gift to me, honestly. Somehow, he saw the many sides of me. An almost proficient Hebrew speaker with an 8th grade knowledge of Judaism, someone who doesn't shy away from the spotlight, a performer, yes, but also someone with a neshama Yehudi, someone with a true love and connection to Judaism that was just waiting to grow and mature. Somehow Josh saw that and encouraged me to see it and nurture it and own it and share it. And I am so grateful to you, Josh, for it. I'm only one of many people Josh has seen and seen into and given the gift of finding more in themselves by giving more to others. So I thank you, Josh, and I introduce you.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. And as many of you can imagine, I feel quite moved in this moment. When asked about this event from the start, there was a question if I had any requests. And my main request was, can we just please keep it short? Something that I've inherited from my family, and particularly my father, is that in some ways it is incredibly more powerful to see one's life reflected in that of others, and so sometimes this kind of spotlight and attention can feel overwhelming. And I'm truly grateful for the Friday night service that we had over a week ago, and for this opportunity as well. It's been quite extraordinary, and I'm so grateful to everybody. You know, in fact, it reminds me of a High Holy Days where Andy Siegel and I worked on a Devar Torah. And just in recognizing what it was that he was offering, switching things around, and it ended up creating such an incredibly powerful opportunity. And Andy's Torah and brilliance and deep questions about what does it mean to be ethical in the face of war, and siding with a sense of peace, and really bringing up some of the most important, challenging questions, which is one of the things I've always loved about this congregation, is that we do not rest on simple answers, as we heard Dov speak. And after that experience, one of the things that Andy said to me was, Josh, when you do something that is wonderful, in some ways it's expected, but when a congregant is able to come and hit a home run, it really is truly reflective of all of it. And I really have felt so much of it throughout the years, that in the ways investing in people's talents and strengths and gifts has been a way to be able to fulfill a mission, I would say a personal mission, and a mission that intersects with the mission of Congregation Beit Haverim. As most of you know, I grew up going to Orthodox day school. And on one hand, it endowed me with an incredible sense of love for Jewish thinking, for Jewish culture, for Jewish prayers and ritual, and for the Jewish people. And as you can imagine, for a whole variety of reasons, only some of which happen to be because I'm a gay man, and because I grew up with strong women, did I also somewhat feel betrayed by my upbringing. in that I didn't feel fully recognized and represented, and neither did my sister, nor my mother, or my aunts. And so, though I did not know I would ultimately return my path to becoming Jewish, once I did, it was very clear to me that the only thing, the primary thing that was most essential was to create a Jewish place that focused less on gatekeeping and less on sizing people up on their Jewish cred, and really recognizing that when people can tap into the reflection of their own authenticity and immense spirit, that there's nothing that they can't do. And if anything, what I hope that continues at Beit Chaverim is the ability to do that, for people to feel that, and then to open that space up for others. One of the things, as I said at the Friday night service, that has been so powerful is in many ways the courage that so many of our early members in thinking about what would it mean to welcome straight folks. And of course, the first straight folks who joined CBH were the intrepid pioneers who were willing to publicly throw their lot and their lives with ours. But as more and more straight people began to join the synagogue, this deep question of would our integrity remain as a congregation that's serving this community. For those of you who are newer to our community, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I sent out a survey really trying to figure out what was most essential and important to our community. And I was wondering if our identity as an LGBT-founded synagogue was still something that remained important. I had wondered if being a Reconstructionist community was something that even people still knew or connected to. And lo and behold, consistently, powerfully, almost exclusively, those were the two most powerful reasons. And so many of our straight members were holding this ideal. I think in part, as I also said on that Friday night, because it's been a space for our children to grow up and claim who they are without having to fear that they might be rejected for any discovery of some aspect of their sexual orientation or gender identity, or even just their own unique expressiveness that sometimes isn't seen as fully welcoming. And so we really have together created an incredible mark on, I would say, American Jewish community together. About 10, maybe 12 years ago, in an article, I believe in the forward, one of my colleagues who was a co-editor of Torah Queries, in talking about the LGBTQ landscape, kind of took a swipe at CBH and called us the first post-gay synagogue. And he meant it as a criticism. And I wrote a rebuttal that's saying that post-gay is where we need to be as a community. And not post-gay as if we're past it, but recognizing that the LGBTQ community has incredible gifts, and to keep them bounded just for ourselves is not for the betterment of humanity, but rather when we have the potential to connect and share as genuinely and authentically as we do in our community, the power of what is possible is transformative. And I believe that we have lived that. And now I see every single LGBT-founded synagogue following our pathways, or their doors have closed. And so when I think about what we have achieved together, it has been nothing short of historic and hallmark. I sometimes think that we are afraid to claim our fullest sense of change and impact on this kind of landscape. We may not even recognize how important it is as a model. Take this alongside the incredible creativity and artistic genius of so many of our members, which of course goes hand in hand with a sense of authentic expression. At the end of the prayer for the end of hiding, the blessing is for us to be able to fully claim our fullest sense. So no wonder we are one of the communities that are offering such powerful musical and artistic teachings to the entire world. And so I have grown through the amazing boot camp that was set up. Thank you, Ellen and Bob and Andy, for that both funny and very real experience, and so much more. To be able to fulfill a mission such as CBH's has been what it means to be a rabbi. I think that we have done tremendous things with one another, for one another, and that I cannot imagine. We joked about larger buildings, and it brings me back to a story that you've heard me say many times, which in Charleston, South Carolina, in this beautiful historic synagogue with amazing chandeliers, our chorus members turned to me and asked me if I sometimes felt regret or remorse that I didn't lead in such a place with such grandeur. And I said, I would never trade chandeliers for people. And so I feel like the investment of who we are as a community is what is most important. We are those crystal facets that shine brightly. We are the light that magnifies. And as we move in these transitions, I'm grateful that we will remain connected. And I'm so excited for what is in CBH's future. Do not think that it was ever defined by a single person. If CBH feels like they will lose their way because somehow their rabbi has moved to emeritus, I did not do my job well. You have the gifts, you have the skills, you have the talents, you have the ability to live your mission, to re-envision it, and to continue to be powerful in this world. And please don't forget that. Please do not see that attached to any single personality. This is something that gets created by being a stand for the power of community. And in doing so, while we might sometimes have different perspectives, different ideas or ideals, do the hard work to remain open to one another. Do the work to hold space, to recognize and call forth the best in each other. And if you do that, I will feel that a part of my legacy continues to be woven into the fabric of Beit Chaverim. I know this is a very tender moment for us. It is for me. I wish you all the best in this next chapter, and so glad that I will be here to see a part of it. Mazel tov to both of us for growing up together. And I just have loved being your rabbi. I love our children and the marvelous human beings that they will be, which is a testament to who we have been and who we are. I'd like to now turn it over to our president, Teresa Presswood.
Let's all take a deep breath. I have business to take care of, to thank people, and to encourage you to stay. After I talk, we're going to do one more thing, and then I want you to come back and unmute yourselves and speak your own truth to Rabbi Josh. Josh, you're loved. I've had a few months to get used to this idea, and unfortunately, May 27th came much more quickly than I anticipated. When we went out to the community to talk about how we wanted to send you off, there was huge response and people wanted to participate. When you agreed to allow us to make this part of a fundraising event, people opened their hearts to show their love for you. People wanted, they volunteered to help ask others to participate in the fundraising. I want to just spend a second thanking them. Shoshana. Shoshana Ben Tamara. Michelle Katzer. Charlie Chase. Susan Cooper Smith. Ellen May. Nancy Moore. Richard Mills. Margie and Oshara. Lauren. Rich. Amy Roberts. Andy Siegel. And Rebecca. Before you're going to see a few slides of people that sponsored it. But what I want to see is 130 families came together to support that. And I just want you to look at how many people are up there. We've raised over $90,000. And part of this is to support the vision of social justice and healing that Rabbi Josh has planted for us here at CBH. We haven't worked out all the details. We haven't worked out the name of the fund, but over $90,000 was raised to say how much we love Rabbi Josh and how much we believe CBH should stay steeped in social justice and healing. You still have an opportunity if you want to make a donation. We're also offering vid hugs if you'd like to give Rabbi Josh your own private message that you may not do here. I'm sad and I'm excited for what comes next. And I appreciate Rabbi Josh for taking me as president and helping guide me as we went through this, as we're going through the transition. This is a video montage of as many people as I could get from the congregation into one video. So Rabbi Josh, we love you. And here we go.
Through the trees, this be dear to me. And the breezes as they blow from across the seas through your window, where they come from, where they go, this be dear to me. Oh, this be dear to me. From sleep, the dream, the softest speak, safe and near me, you will keep. This be dear to me, oh, this be dear to me. I believe this is what's worth fighting for. Let us see that there is so much more. Adonai, oh, the autumn rust and gold, winter mornings crisp and cold, and in spring the world unfolds. This be dear to me, oh, this be dear to me. Oh, the whole world's whispering, the morning rains, the prayer bells ring, the eagle cries, the great bells sing. This be dear to me, oh, this be dear to me. This is what's worth fighting for. See that there is so much If I leave this world too soon, far beyond the silver moon, live your life with love and truth. This be dear to me. Look, there's love in all that's true. This be dear to me. Feel the love surrounding you. This be dear to me. Oh, this be dear to me. Yes, you are dear to me.
And now it's time for everyone to unmute and pull up your signs and show them if you got them. If not, you got hands, you have faces.
Come over.
Say what you got to say and show what you got to show. Thank you, Joshua.
Love you, Rabbi Josh.
Love you, Rabbi Josh. Thank you.
Can't wait to find out what's next for you.
Thank you.
Love you, Rabbi Josh. Thank you for everything.
Rabbi
Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love
you, Rabbi Josh. Thanks for coming
You have to say something, otherwise it won't come out.
Thank you, Rabbi Josh.
Are we unmuted?
Love you, Josh.
Unmuted.
Thank you for seeing me.
Good luck, Josh.
Good luck. I sent you a note, so just know that you in my heart.
Thank you for holding us so well.
Be well. Yes.
We wish you all the best, Rabbi Josh.
Yes,
Rabbi Josh.
You were holding
peace and good.
you.
Who will be the voice of reason when you leave? No one.
You will.
Rabbi Josh, the president.
Got my book. Yes, this was a beautiful, beautiful program.
Just ask me something.
I was just going to say, Lauren Rich was trying to get me to run for Marjorie Green Taylor seat.
We already started fundraising. That 90,000 is fundraising. I'm giving you.
I'd have to move up to Rome, Georgia. So
No
that
problem. We rented you an apartment.
have a sign-up sheet for the space.
She's got 2 houses. We can get you a house up there.
They got good Italian food out in Rome.
Oh, okay.
90K, we can do a lot.
We can just go occupy Rome.
You never knew it was going to be a campaign slush fund, did you?
Okay. That was so beautiful.
Love you, Rabbi Josh.
Love you too.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank you.
Brad, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So,
Thank you. And you haven't gotten rid of us. We'll continue to darken your doorway.
My one complaint about that video is I don't think we saw enough of his legs.
Love you, Josh.
I have to get them back in shape now.
Really?
With Myers in Massachusetts also wish you well, Rabbi Josh. Members of the Staple Wax family.
Oh, thank you.
hey, Bernie. Where's Bernie? I don't see him. Thank you, Dad. Oh, Dad. Okay.
All right.
Is this over now?
Yes, it is.
We can hear you, Lauren.
Is it over? I mean, when does this end? We go back?
Yes.
You can go have dinner now, Lauren.
Is this my holy days? Because I've heard that before.
Race back for Savannah for a 2-hour program.
But when's break fast?
Bravo, Teresa.
Usually that's around my Devar.
Lauren, for the love of God, mute yourself.
He done? Is that okay? He sits in the front row.
Hey, Josh, you've heard of
Lauren, Bev.
Josh, you've heard of
Becky, right
boomerang kids. How about a boomerang congregation?
Okay.
Very cute.
I'm not leaving.
Wonderful.
Let Rabbi Josh go rest.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, 100
Not the long Southern goodbye.
137 at one point.
No, the long Jewish goodbye.
Isn't Elliot Gould in that movie?
That's Becky there. Yeah, she's waving her hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
He is really
Yeah,
fast
that's
on
what
his
she's
feet.
doing.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.